This is producer Tom. And some of you he's a little grumpy. I just woke him up. He's sitting in this chair that I was already sitting in. And he got up. I got up to make myself a new cup of coffee because he decided his foot would be really good to taste. So he's already trying to get back in. It's just type of thing. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. So, as you all know, I am Giles Blake, El Pendor. This is not Painter's Breakfast, but it kind of is, in a way. I am busy this day. I have a tattoo to get. I have a little bit of car trouble I got to deal with. Check engine light came on. I'm trying to troubleshoot it. I will probably end up just taking the metro for the week, which I don't mind, honestly. I like the walks. It's good for my health. It's not bad. Let's see what else. I might even bust out my bike. I haven't ridden my bike in quite some time, which is funny, being a bike mechanic and a painter. Everybody always asks me what I ride, and I answer oftentimes with a level of disdain, which is whatever I feel like. No, there's normally like a mom joke that goes on. But yeah, no, things are well. Things are good. Things are doing as they are. I've been working on my sketchbook. I've been working on the big painting. I've been working on myself. I had a really interesting conversation with a fellow diabetic about just managing and figuring out how everything goes. I have thankfully not ripped out this sensor. I'm almost completely done with the whole thing with this, so that's nice. It's a nice feeling to not feel like I'm getting ripped off in a way on how long this thing has stayed in, because I've always had a hard time keeping them in, really. I hate corners and stuff. I'm kind of a clumsy person in a lot of ways. And so it's difficult sometimes for me to not essentially crack into everything. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? The Henri Squad. Hey, Henri. Yeah. No, I'm just painting, honestly. I'm painting, I'm trying to work on, like I said, I'm trying to work on some tattoo stuff. I'm gonna do some more, get a new tattoo today. If you'd like to see it, I can show you what it looks like. It's gonna be pretty nice, actually. So my wife and I have been married for almost 16 years, and we've known each other for a very long time. Hello, how are you? Oh my God, you've been so pretty. Oh, I'm I'm not even sure how to respond to that. Okay, it kind of feels a little racist. Got to be honest with you, but okay. So, anyways, back to what I was saying before I even do that. Um, so Alec and I have been married for a super long time. Ugh. See, this is that thing when people say to me, they're like, "Oh, you deal with these things, you do this stuff," and then someone says some crazy shit, and you're just like, you just want to derail and go into it, but you're not, because you're smarter than they are. You're born better than them, and they just have to deal with that, and that's kind of what makes it fun. So I myself, Afro Latino, West Indian, and so I'm very proud of that. I don't mind not being, as this person said, white. It doesn't upset me. I like I like my culture. I like my people. I don't think there's anything to that really beyond that. So, anyways, tattoo I'm getting today. My wife is an illustrator, and she drew a demo, and she's been drawing demos for decades for me for Valentine's Day gifts. So I'm gonna get that tattoo. We've just been together forever, and I want to see it and think of her. She's my favorite person in the whole world. She's got a lot of hair. She's a beautiful woman, very amazing, and I'm just excited about that. You know, I'm gonna go and get a burrito before I get my tattoo, which is always nice. It's how that works, and I'm just ignoring these type of comments. It's not. It's offensive, and we'll just put it that way. I appreciate you feel that you need to say something, and that's okay, but I'm just not going to. I'm not going to deal with that. So yeah, that's how that's gonna work. Anyways, um, yeah, lots of paintings, lots of fun stuff going on actually, and yeah, I'm sorry. That really kind of derailed me. I got to be honest. There's few moments in my life that I can say I feel. Hmm. Wow. I don't know. So for those who haven't seen the comment, I blocked them. They can't comment anymore um, on the feed. They said you would be really pretty if you were white, is what it said. And then they tried to kind of make an excuse for it and be like, no, I'm just saying, it's not an insult. I'm just saying you're very beautiful. And I'm like, that's still not a compliment. I'm not even gonna say, but thank you. Go away. Just go away. You're not welcome. You're not welcome back here. That's how that works. Um, so yeah. God, ugh. What is wrong with people? This is kind of one of the reasons why like it's hard sometimes doing shows because you'll run across someone who, although their intentions are good, it's still very insulting. So, mm, whatever. Um, we're moving past that. Hi. Let me start over. Hi, I'm Ja. I'm Juara. I'm Juara Kwesi Legama Blake. It's nice to meet you. I'm a painter. I'm a proud Afro-Latino West Indian, and I love our music, our culture, our food, and oftentimes it plays a really big part in the way that I make art. Like if you've ever seen any of my work, you've probably seen this mask pop up quite a few times. So this is a Bolivian fighting mask. So there's a festival they have in the mountains where once a year everybody handles their kind of conflicts, and you're allowed to kind of like duke it out in a round to just let it all out. And the rest of the year you just have to get along with each other, and it's not tolerated for people to fight beyond that. And it's just kind of one of those things where like it's always, I believe in the release, but I also believe in the factor that like you can settle your differences without any type of this, because it's not necessary. We've done so much in our lives where people have refused to just kind of talk to each other and understand each other. And some people will just keep saying the same thing over and over again, trying to excuse the thing, where like really the only thing you should say is I apologize, I was wrong, and you move on. But in that regards, there is nothing about you apologizing that means someone like me has to accept your apology. You apologize because you are sorry, not because you want someone to forgive you. That's how I live. I have been working on my sketchbooks actually quite a bit this week. I did this one last night, actually. The funny thing is, I was in the middle of kind of working on this with a lot of textures. The funny thing is, I was in the middle of working on this last night, and like halfway through just drawing all the boxes, I was like, Shuar, why do you do this to yourself? Why do you do these tiny little boxes that you have to fill up with all these things? And I'm doing this while I'm watching Murder. While my wife is reading Murderbot to me, which is actually a book series, not just a TV series. And so I'm in the middle of kind of like filling out this sketchbook, working on all these textures, doing all these things, because I think textures are super important. For those who don't know, I went to art school. I felt very connected and pretty happy about the people I ran into and the things that I learned while I was just kind of getting around. and I always thought that was just really cool. Texture has always been something that was really beat into me and made kind of important in me and my culture and stuff like that. And so in my art, it oftentimes reflects itself. And yeah, that really bothered me. God, I didn't think it would bother me as much as it did. Anyways, we drink, we smoke, we do all types of things. Um, and a lot of it's just kind of like fatigue. I think a lot of art is kind of a reflection of artists trying to just do things and move forward and learn how to live and learn how to like be part of everything. And so a really important word in my life is the word infant. So I did printmaking for a little while, and it's oftentimes pronounced as mi gente or megaleres, and it means my people. That's all it means. It means my people. And I've always really loved how you have to kind of make art that is reflective of the people that you know and how you see yourself. I have been working on all these different types of art and stuff throughout the years because it's my form of expression, it's my form of happiness, it's my form of communication. I think in a lot of ways it's important to just kind of do these things. I didn't come up with drawing in boxes. I won't lie that like this was originally my idea. I started doing these because people. That's all I got on this one. Because I saw somebody who had done them, and I was just looking at kind of how I was filling out pages in my sketchbooks, and I felt a little unfulfilled, so to speak. Like I wasn't putting enough into the sketchbooks. I was filling out the pages and I was doing all this stuff, but I didn't feel like I was like filling them out the way I wanted to fill them out. So I started kind of making like boxes so I could do more drawings, more paintings, more etc. And I still use sketchbooks for sketchbooks. Don't get me wrong. I still use them to kind of conceptualize. Like a lot of these are things that end up in paintings, so on and so forth. There's a lot of little details in this that come from those textures and tattoos and just everything. I think it's really important that like in life you have to realize that like art is reflective upon you making things that mean something to you. And so that's what I try to do, you know. Me and my lap boy. And it's just kind of important, honestly. I think art has this really amazing quality to it that is just undescribable. And when you find like good art, you start to realize that how big of a deal it is to like your just existence. Like your socks, from your socks to the way you do your hair, are all different art forms that have kind of popped up and presented themselves in such powerful ways. And they've all been like little bits of representation. So which one's this one? So this is like an old one I did that back in the day. I've shown this one a couple of times. I'll show it again. This is an old one that I did back in the day that that I did back in the day. I was doing a lot of figure studies back then. I still do a lot of figure studies, but not as intensely as I was during this time period in my life. And so I was learning kind of the finer points, the finer little weird details of art and life and just moving and motions and stuff. I think I was working with a lot of colors, and I was trying to kind of figure out how I was going to come together with everything. How I was going to kind of let my art and my style and my way of thinking and my way of being and so on and so forth into these like little drawings and sketches and etc. And in that, I was kind of more accepting of the factor that like I was going to make art that was going to mean a lot to me, and it wasn't always necessarily going to mean a lot to anybody else. And I've always had a strong connection to a lot of Chicano culture. I grew up in a very Chicano neighborhood. I went to a very Chicano school. And so there was a lot of like Mexican artworks and Mexican kind of things going on as far as festivals and just everything. And so it's always kind of played tattoos and masks and human form and all these things all kind of played little bits and pieces into my art existence. The problem I ran across eventually was as good as a lot of these full-fledged paintings, because these are just drawings, full-fledged paintings were, it was very hard to get into galleries and do shows. So I started doing more kind of clothed work. And I didn't want to lose what I was doing in the process. So I changed it a little, but I kept it a lot. And I think a lot of times with like art and stuff, you have to figure out kind of if you want to present your work, how you're allowed to present your work in public spaces. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I still very much make this work, and I still very much love making this work. I think it's fun, I think it's cool, I think it's great. I think you learn a lot about body positioning and anatomy and like not being afraid to draw like Ken dolls as opposed to, you know, actual forms of people. Like they're not all the same. They're not all the same as far as just the way parts hang on the body, the way bodies move, the way bodies are shaped. It's just one of those things. I remember a I remember just having like an argument with an artist back in the day, probably in the early 2000s. I'm in my 40s. Early 2000s about an artist who I looked up to, and he said essentially he didn't like people doing nudes. He's like, I don't want kids to be exposed to that, and I was like, well, it's art. It's not pornography. I understand like you're afraid of pornography with children and whatnot, but that's not what this is. Like, there's nothing. If you see sexual, I mean that's you. I mean, when you look upon the world and you see all types of things, like if the only thing you ever see when you look at someone is what they must look like via sex, I mean that's a you thing. That's not really anybody else thing. And so I've just been making art this whole time, all of life. And it's fun, honestly. I really always loved it. I've always loved the way art feels and the way art moves and the way art goes. I think the reason I stopped drawing exactly like this was my I changed my tools. Yeah, my tools. So I was using like this very like kind of 3-pin that's flat on one side. It's flat in the middle, but it's wide, but it's thin. So as you turn the pen, you can kind of make different lines and different line techniques, and you can do all types of stuff, and you can do etc. And I don't know, it's just interesting. They're interesting for people and bodies. I moved kind of in a different way when I started doing the other ones because I've been using like a fine pen, like a replaceable ink pens, and they have more of a paintbrush type style. And so a lot of times they kind of move in a different way. And I also believe in doing abstracts, honestly. I think abstracts are perfect when you're trying to kind of figure out, you've got all this energy and you don't know what to make. So you just make something. You gotta like let that out. It's almost like having anxious energy and then you like just want to scream. And sometimes like that's what They are. They are visual screams. You do collage. You do all types of fun stuff. It's just beautiful, you know? The whole point is to make something that you feel is beautiful. Not something that's necessarily great to other people, not something that's incredible to people who don't like art, which is a lot of people, oddly enough. Or they don't like your art, or they only like their art, and they only like their favorite artist, and they only like these tiny little kind of subsection ideas of what the world is supposed to look like. And for those people, I always say, why don't you make art then? You know? Why don't you make art? Why don't you make all the things that you want to see in the world? There's so much art that happens, and it's just amazing. But you don't have to do anything. Hello. Hello, Donnie. Oh, I see. I don't know how to do it. Hi. Hi. Yeah, I just think art is like this really fun, beautiful thing, and like you can really enjoy yourself if you allow yourself to. So that's just me being me, me doing things. This is producer Tom. Tom, say hello. The ineffectual look of just like, ugh, get this shit out of my face, is just how he is. So yeah, this is the painting I've been working on. As you can see, little details. Lots of little details. Long socks and sock outfits, and I'm working on the background right now, working on the colors, working on everything. I think I've done about as much as I'm going to do with her and kind of the details with her. These are more kind of paintings, and this is even more kind of paintings. And this is a giant roll of humongous paintings. There's probably like 100 pounds worth of paintings in those. And I sell work all the time, and I do stuff like that. So they come and they go, and they move, and they do etc. I've got big tent now, so I can do more outdoor festivals. I'm super excited about it. Bye, Tom. I'm super excited about it. So that and gist is what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do later. I'll take some video, make some pictures of my new tattoo when I get it done today. And I hope you're well. Love you, Galeras. Thank you for whatever this is. Alright, in or out. Ciao. Bye. Keep being creative. Do good things. Bye.